What's going on? It's your man, Dr. Will, and you guys know the deal. Let me know what city, what state, what country you are chiming in from. Even if you're watching the replay, let me know what city, what state, what country you are chiming in from. I'm here in the beautiful city of Phoenix, Arizona. So wherever you're chiming in from, let me know. Let me know. Even if you're watching the replay. So I wanted to come back on here. Yep, Regina, I'm doing a second one for the day. I wanted to come back because I was just sitting in my office and I had a couple of coaching appointments today, and we were talking about modeling. And so it got me to thinking, right? Got me to thinking about my journey over the last several years. And this thought kept coming to me, that success leaves clues. And I was talking to my coaching clients today, and I was sharing with them, stop trying to reinvent the wheel, right? Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Just follow the formula, follow the recipe, and you'll get the success that you're after. Because success really does leave clues. And then the Bible says, there is nothing new under the sun. There is nothing new under the sun. And so I always see people, they struggle because they always think that they have to come out with something new, or they have to create something new. But as I was thinking about my success that I've achieved, I went back to the beginning. So when I started out in this speaking arena, what I did was I literally Google searched, who are the top speakers in the industry? Who are the top speakers in the industry? Because this is something that I learned when I was in the military. You want to model success. When I was in the military, I had the great fortune of going to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Going to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And this was very important, what happened, the experience that I had. I get off the bus in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And when I get off the bus, and this was very pivotal for me, I get off the bus and they're greeting me when I get off the bus. They weren't really there greeting me. They were more like yelling. But when I get off the bus, there were 3 drill sergeants waiting. One was named, his name was Steele. One was named Steele. One was named Williams. And one was named Sturgis. And I saw these African-American men in their military uniform, in their army uniform, in their BDUs, waiting for me to get off the bus. And they looked so sharp. Their uniforms were crisp. They just looked like soldiers. And from day one in my mind, I began to model. Like, I wanted my boots to look like theirs. I wanted my uniform to look like theirs. Their uniforms were crisp. Their uniforms was like bang, bang, bang. And I said, man, I'm going to model them. I'm going to model them. I'm going to model how they communicate. I'm going to model how they carry themselves. They were soldiers. So I wanted to be a successful soldier. So I said I was going to model them. And whatever I do, whatever endeavor I get involved in, I try to find who is at the top of the game. Who is at the top of the game? And then I try to model them, right? So when I got into this speaking industry, I just did a Google search. Who's the top speakers? Who's the top speakers? And at that time when I did it, names like Jim Rohn popped up. Names like Zig Ziglar popped up. But then there was another gentleman who popped up, Les Brown. Les Brown popped up as one of the top motivational speakers in the world. So instantly I gravitated to Les Brown because Les Brown was an African-American man. I began to read his story. I bought his book. I began to absorb all his videos at that time. I ordered anything that he was selling. Back then, they were doing cassette tapes. So I ordered all of his cassette tapes. And I began to listen to Les Brown. But more than listen to him, I began to model. I began to model Les Brown. Not the way he talked, not his mannerisms, but the success that he was having in the speaking industry. So I went and I got in one of his programs and I began to model. It was an online program back then. You buy it. It was a course that you could buy, and I got it. Then when I moved back to the United States, I had the great fortune of meeting Les Brown at an event. I got to meet the man that I had, for a whole year, literally, I had listened to Les Brown every single day for a whole year. For 365 days of the year, I listened to this film, You Gotta Be Hungry. And I listened to him tell his story. I listened to him tell his story about being born in Liberty City in an abandoned building. Him and his twin brother. I listened to his story about being adopted by Miss Mamie Brown. I listened to that, right? I listened to when the teacher told him to come on to come up to the front of the class and work on this problem, and he said, "I can't work on that problem." And they said, "Why can't you work on the problem?" And his classmate said, "That's Les. That's the dumb twin. He's not the smart twin. He's the dumb twin," right? And so for me, here's an African American man who had a learning disability. I had a learning disability. I have dyslexia, right? I wasn't the smartest cookie in the bunch. And so now I have a model, right? And he's taken away, what this model is doing for me is taking away all the excuses. Any excuses that I would have had for being successful, he was taking away all of those excuses. He was taking away all of those excuses, right? Didn't come from the best environment, didn't come up on the right side of the tracks, wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. So for me, he was taking away all the excuses. I had now a model where I can say, if Les did it, Will can do it. If Les is doing it, Will can do it. Right? So I begin to model that. So years later, I have the opportunity to meet Les Brown, and he had such a great impact on my life. So I remember that night that I met Les Brown, I said, if there's one thing that you can tell me as a speaker to really